Hey, folks, there's some vacant seats over here. If you guys want to come up here and sit down, up here in front. There's some in the back here, two or three seats. Well, one or two, two over here, one, two here, and three right here.
I know. You can get your phone calls, you can get your text messages.
All right.
You can get everything off that. I don't have
Chairman,
it.
you ready?
Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. And first item on the agenda is the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. If we'd stand for the invocation, remain standing, we'll do the pledge. Caleb?
Let us pray. Father God, Lord, we love you, we thank you, and we praise you today, Father. Father, we thank you for allowing us to be a part of our local government. Lord, we ask that you lead, guide, and direct us in everything that we do, for it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Next, we'll need to approve our agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we allow Mr. Little with his agriculture proclamation to move in before our budget things happen.
You don't have to do roll call, Steve.
Huh?
You don't.
Okay. He said
Okay.
you didn't have to.
You want to move Jim up in front of our public hearing? Okay. Can we do that, Lonzo, as our public hearing?
It's
Okay.
yes.
Do you have somebody second that?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay, Jim, you're up.
No, well, let me pull your proclamation up. Pardon me, let me pull the proclamation. Let him pull it up. Since we're moving it around. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, the audience here, appreciate the opportunity to come. We were hoping to have done this a few weeks back to coincide with the state Ag Week, but because of the meetings being moved and moved and moved and moved and moved, we weren't able to do it. So we'd like to bring before you at this time, I'm representing as the chair of the Tourism, Agritourism Board, which is part of Experience Russell, the TAC. So we'd like to present this for your consideration on a proclamation for Russell County, Virginia Ag Week. You see it up there. Some of you have copies. All of you should have copies in your package. Under the authority of the Russell County Board of Supervisors, there is hereby officially recognized Russell County, Virginia Agricultural Week. This proclamation is made for the County of Russell and the Commonwealth of Virginia, declaring the dates from July 7th through July 13th, 2024, shall be proclaimed and recognized as Russell County Agricultural Week, honoring the farmers and agriculture industry in Russell County. Whereas Governor Glenn Youngkin declared June 23rd to June 29th as Virginia Agriculture Week in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Whereas Russell County is home to 38, and just as of Friday, 39 now, Virginia Century Farms and 3 bicentennial farms, while continuing to grow. Agriculture continues to be the primary economic factor at the county and state levels, having an economic impact of $82.3 billion in total industry output within the Commonwealth of Virginia. Whereas the success of our agriculture in Russell County is highlighted in the innovative technologies our farms are using in adapting to increase efficiency and the important work that Russell County farmers do as stewards of our land, water, and other natural resources. Whereas cattle continue to be the leading agricultural commodity, we are also blessed with horses, sheep, chickens, honeybees, produce, greenhouse operations, and other farming endeavors. Whereas agriculture has increased tourism efforts to include horse shows, farmers markets, direct farm sales, fish farms, and more. Therefore, on June 29th, 2024, the Russell County Board of Supervisors decrees, or we would hope will decree, the week of July 7th through July 13th is Russell County Agricultural Week, and calls this observance to the attention of all of our citizens. To be signed by Steve Breeding and Lonzo Lester. We would like to request that you all would honor that, make that proclamation. Here's something that doesn't cost you anything. So, just to throw in, Andrew pointed out something to me, and then I went back and checked his figures, which is, I'm kind of a number cruncher on some things. And you were exactly right. Just a note on cattle, we have more cows, twice as many, over twice as many cows as we do people in Russell County. And we used to have some politicians in this county that probably would have voted some of those cows too. But, right, Nate? But anyway, I appreciate your time. Hope you would give this positive consideration. Thank you very
Jim.
much.
I'll
Appreciate
make
it.
a motion, we adopt this.
Have a
I
motion
second it.
and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I would like to add that, to Mr. Little's thoughts, that I do believe I did the research last year, and about $170 million worth of cattle and farming and forestry, et cetera, are all in Russell County. So that is a huge business here. It is economic development at its best.
Any further discussion?
I'd like to thank Mr. Little also for the apples that was presented to us. I don't know if he's trying to sweeten us up or sour us down, but thank you.
Respect on the apples there. Collins Apple Orchard, I had trouble finding Virginia-grown apples right now that were this nice. Those are early Junes, which are cooking apples. Might pucker your lips a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. I officially signed it, Jim, so Lonzo will do that and we're good. Okay, now, the next item agenda is our public hearing for 24-25 countywide budget. I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. If you want to speak, come up to the podium, state your name, where you live, and go ahead and make your comments. Lonzo, you're doing the 3-minute clock, right?
Yes, Chairman. At the first one that's been asked to speak during the budget hearing that has worked with us during, I think, the last 6 months, is Dr. Hooker with the school super.
Thank you, Doctor.
Good morning. First of all, I can't believe I really want to thank these people in the back here that came to support you guys this morning. Thank you all. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude for your support to approve the salary raise for our teachers. This increase is a significant step towards recognizing the hard work and dedication of our educators. Your commitment to improving teacher compensation demonstrates your understanding of the critical role that teachers play in the shaping of the future of our students and our community. This salary raise not only provides much needed financial relief, but also serves as a powerful affirmation of the value you place on the contributions of our educators. I also want to say, though, we cannot stop here. The Budget Committee has worked hard on a plan that could be phased in. We need to continue helping our teachers, but also our administrators and staff. With that said, I hope that we can continue our efforts to working together to make this happen. And I want to thank you, and thank you for all your work and dedication in helping our teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ritter. Have anyone else that wants to comment?
Do you have the sign-up sheet?
Anybody else? Well, this is for public comment. This is not public comment, this is public hearing on the budget. If nobody else wants to speak on the public hearing on the budget, I'm gonna go ahead and declare it closed. Mr. Lester, your presentation is that?
I will speak on the budget.
Yes.
Excuse me just a minute, County Administrator. We do have, on this sign-in sheet, I think we have some people that wants to speak on the teachers' pay raises. But Dr. Hooker's already spoken, and then we have William Dye. Okay, thank you, Mr. Dye.
I apologize, your name is on public, yeah.
Sorry about that. Mr. Little, do you want to comment again through public comment?
I'll wait for public comment.
Okay, sir.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors and Russell County citizens. You got me? Okay, thanks. We're down to the June 29, 2024, and usually, traditionally, throughout the budget process from beginning to end, traditionally, this is the one that we come in and we talk about what we went through, what we have been able to keep, what we've not been able to do, and what we need to do in the new current fiscal year. So with the increases with the teacher raises and also the employee raises, that includes the school employees and that includes the county employees, and along keeping up with our issues that we have dealt with. Some of y'all been in our budget meetings with, Department of Social Services, the CSA, the regional jails, et cetera, and after moving through the budget process and correcting some of those issues down to this point right here, which even with the caboose bill, the state, some of the numbers have just continued flowing through, even on the school side. So as I go through, what I'm going to do and how I'm going to present is our last budget meeting forward. So at that point, the Budget Committee, which is Mr. Breeding, Mr. Eaton, and the school board and myself, we're at this point here and some of the last things, housekeeping that we've got to do to continue forward in what we're seeing into the fiscal year 24 and 25. So as we all know, we're all here today to set the regional proposed Russell County fiscal year 24-25 budget and tax rates. This is the final and formal one. As I said, traditionally, this is the one that usually we just come in here and talk about the good things and the bad things that we got to look for. So as you can see on the screen, this is how the budget has played out over as a graph, how the budget has played out financially and how we have divided it up. And we have to do this by the Code of, the Code of Virginia, the laws and the procedures, and what services that we provide to the citizens of Russell County. Of course, the big one in the room, always the elephant for right now, is education. We contribute 33% of our budget to the budget-wide. Of course, health and welfare, 5%, general services, public safety, which is, sheriff, regional jails, that is 23%. Environmental control, which is the landfill, disposal sites, and the transfer station. So, again, the judicial is 11%, general administration is 8%, all the others, which include the parks, recreation, culture, community development, non-departmental capital outlay, and transfer of other funds and debt service, is as one of the best things that I always like to point out, not just from this, but from the budget as a whole, the debt service is only 3% of the total budget. We make sure, since we are not in the, we haven't got an extra source of revenue or a stream of revenue, the only thing or advantages that we can take up to get is to cut debt or cut cost. So that's the methodology that we use, and that's what the budget committee maintains. So this is the 100% of the budget. Now, as the 25 core operations, 55 departments or programs that is in Russell County that we give, and again, that's part of the pie, all these other departments, disposal, courts, sheriffs, schools, the whole 55 departments. But since 2015, the board has reduced these costs, like I said before, through consolidation of operations like disposal, landfill operation, restructuring our contracts. We perform a lot of in-house and utilization of our community work programs and our county operations. We do a lot of sharing. We also do a lot of cross-sharing on assisting each other. We don't contract out unless we absolutely have to. We do a lot of the projects that you'll see around the county, from the boat launches, community centers, the projects here. We do these as cross projects. We do them in-house, we schedule them. Sometimes they're a little slow, but that's because we've got a long list of repairs. So to put it in perspective, the Russell County Maintenance Department has 4 employees. We got 477 square miles, and we have over 42 facilities, 4 people. So that should put it in perspective. I have 4 full-time maintenance personnel. So over the last 8 years, the Board of Supervisors, in pay increases and in bonuses, mostly increases, we've only had to give 2 bonuses, but that was during the pandemic, we have gave up to 33% increases continuously without raising taxes. So during the 24-25 financial risk, the county disposal and transfer station, of course, that's going to be one of our risks. I hate to talk about trash, but it's, as you looked on the scale, it's the 3rd largest cost, but behind education, sheriff, public safety, and then trash. That's it. I mean, I can't move up community services or community development or anything. It's trash. So not to get stuck on it. Second thing is, of course, is the Department of Social Services and the CSA, the foster care program. Those are our kids. So we, as a county in the DSS, they work in conjunction with the schools and with us to be able to give foster care program, CSA services, and Department of Social Services. Next one on the list, of course, is the regional jail, which one of the things that we do, and as you know, we have a community work program. Like I said, I've got 4 people, and I do a lot of supplemental with these community workers. We have 2 community work programs that we keep a crew of 10 to 15 on, that you see picking up trash, painting here, working on the little leagues or the facilities, or doing county work around here. So my staff will utilize these as supplemental labor. And that keeps them out of the jail. Now what that equates to is approximately $12,000 a year, what it costs. Instead of paying the regional jail that pays the employees in Washington County,
we keep them here and we keep them working. Next, again, another trash mechanism. Since we are under the Regional Waste Management Authority, we are in a authority, a regional with Dixon County and Buchanan County and Russell County. We have transfer stations and we have those operations, and that is part of the cost of maintaining the county disposal and transfer stations. The next is the fire and rescue. Of course, that we've got some of those things that has come up. Everybody knows, have seen in the other counties, that we have wonderful fire and rescue, but it's been trying since the pandemic. They have been pushed to their limits in certain areas, so of course we got to keep them on our radar as far as risk. And of course, the inflationary costs. I don't need to say that no more than anything. It's no more than what y'all incur at the house. If it costs you more for groceries and gas, it's going to cost us more for materials and operations, supplies, and pencils. Next on the list, like Dr. Hooker elaborated on, and the school and the budget committee has, and we have throughout, now only in 24-25, we have the teacher and the county employee salaries that we got to continue. This is, once you make a salary obligation in a budget, that's a continuing obligation. So therefore, it's not just the salary. That also affects their VRS, that also affects their FICA, and their other benefits. So this is a continuing process. Next, of course, I love the casino fund, but it is what we had projected during the first of the year was about $1.1 million. And of course, as you'll see in the presentation, that was taken down, not due to estimates, but now we had legal costs, auditing costs, and taxation that we had to pay on it. So we're now only projecting around $975,000 for those refunds. So some of the funds that we thought we were going to be able to help to move from the casino to the operations was taken down. So as you can see, this is the slide that here is what I call the king and queen of tax from the general fund. These are the major ones that we have between fiscal year 24 and 25. As you can see, this is not with a reassessment, and I'm going to go into that later. This is just increases in efficiencies that we've got, and this will be online, so y'all can look at it later. 573,825. So this is the initial increases in what we call the general property taxes and the other local taxes, what we call the king and queen of taxes. This is our base. Every other line that you look through underneath this is either charges or permits or fees or grants or et cetera. So as you can see, this one is the regional jail that I have highlighted. Last year, we got $580,163 back. This year, we get zero because of the increase, as Mr. Breeding and Mr. Kaiser said on, their increase in cost in labor from the state, we proportionally pay for that, but also their health care cost component went up drastically. So to take care of inmates. So we was not able to grab that, any refund or what we call excess money at the end of the year, reversion money. So as we keep going through, as like I said, the regional casino money, last year we got $680,000. This year we get $976,000, which was an increase of $296,000. Of course, the next category, which is the shared expenses, which is Constitution officers, theirs went up approximately 7.6%, but those are flow-throughs from the state to the county. So that is not funds that we can obligate, is dedicated to their services and courts and et cetera. So, and the treasurer, Commonwealth attorney. So those are what we call encumbered locked-in funds. Again, as the talk and the other issues that we just got finalized too was the school resource officers in the high schools, which everybody, wants to make sure that we keep the kids safe, and we worked with the school board to make sure this happened. And now we've got
speak from wrong, we've got school resources offices now 2 at each high school, correct? Yes, 2. So now, with that in the grant funding, this was grant supplemented, and in partnership with the schools, that was an extra $177,000 in grants. As you took these numbers from the beginning, the 573 to 296, 177, that's an increase of $1,046,825. Now, how tight is the budget itself? Okay, the $1,046,825 from the total revenue, this is the total revenue, what we call the total general fund by law, this is $1,074,337. So, now these lines that are underneath it, these are state-supported revenue, these are Department of Social Services, this is the public safety and the CSA programs, and of course, the small one as the canneries, very important. As we went through there, like I said previously, how did we come up with the extra funding? Now, if you'll look into this, if I could increase it, but you can look at it later. As far as the personal property and what we got is the increases in those line items are actually coming from business, machine and tool, and personal property. For example, the construction companies that we have and the companies that were implemented, and we can talk about economic development a little bit more. As we're getting these companies in, like Tate and Siemens, which has already been announced and already be done, they'll be on the next board meeting. We're finishing up the Alcoa. You will see those numbers increase, and those are increasing enough to be able to maintain that $1,046,825. Now, as we move through the year, that is increases in revenue into what we call the king and queen of tax and the increases in revenue. Now, on the other side of the equation, what we have to go through, the budget committee goes through, the schools go through, and every 55 departments, they all come in, they submit some budgets to us to be able to see what they can operate at and what we can do throughout the year. So what the budget committee does, we take these line items through, as you'll see, I think I got 61 pages of them, 55 departments. We take those line items and we make sure, first of all, we can work within it. First is the employees' salaries, and then we look at the operational cost. And then, what do we do with that? We either increase, what based off the benefits or based off the salary. But the important thing is this. As I go through the lines, the 55 departments, what can we do or not do? And of course, the reason I have this highlighted, and I'm gonna pick it on the Board of Supervisors, is they had discretionary money last year. We took it just like that. So cutting costs. You either raise your revenue or you cut the cost. So the board volunteered to give these line items up. It was over 35,000, so only are we raising revenue. Now let's go into the cost-cutting phases. So as we go through the budget, as these have been looked at before during the previous budget meetings, the key ones is either flat level funding, and we will come to the Constitution officers that y'all seen before, which we have no control on. The fire departments has state level funding, rescue has state level funding, and the regional jail. Of course, that's another one that we talked about. Like I said, we worked very hard. We have worked with Commonwealth Attorney and the judges to be able to keep what is coming through the system, to be able to move them based off if they're eligible, to be able to move it into this community work program instead of sending them to Washington County to pay those exorbitant costs on a per day. So we guaranteed basically with the court system and between Washington County and the regional jail that we would maintain our current inmates of 110. That is right now what we have in the system. Next is, of course, the bill inspectors, 911, those are all under the Constitution and emergency management, and the landfill, again, the transfer station, and the disposal. We're beating, Lord, you get out of the trash business. Now, next is, as you can see, that is highlighted from the FY '23 to the '25, just in this year alone, that you'll see over a $400,000 increase. Just from '23 to '25, there was a $400,000 increase. Just from increase from '24 to '25, you see a 5.2% increase. Next is animal control, the rest of the properties, and Department of Social Services. The Department of Social Services went up 15.7% from 882,000 to 1,020,000. So, as we go through the school contribution, this is where the majority of the money went, between this and the employee raises and maintaining the current services. So as you can see in the budget from last year, FY '24, we had $9,101,317, and that it was increased to be able to take care of not only the teacher raises, and the legislators will tell us this too in the budget committee, the at-risk program in the state of Virginia got cut. Our funding got cut, especially in this region. And that alone was a major financial burden we had to work through, trying to give that and the raises at the time. So the increase in the school budget increased from last FY '24 into FY '25, $832,646. Now, of course, during this time, there were certain programs that we were working very hard to maintain from a financial perspective, and the RACE program is one where we sent our kids that graduate from Russell County high schools are able to attend college for free for 2 years. There are certain things that, that the public wants kept, and that's what we help maintain. So as we went through the Park and Rec Center Conference Center, and some of these are self-sustaining, the public libraries, the planning commissions, as we move through each one of them, the important ones, as far as the capital outlay too. As you know, that we're finishing up the courthouse, and part of the new courthouse has already been built. That's already been done. We're doing a debt switch on this building to that debt next year. You've seen that 3% in debt. So what debt payment we have on this is just going to transition to the courthouse. So therefore, there'll be very little to or no increase. Now, on the old courthouse and renovation, what we did legally, as many comments I get out there in the public, we transferred our ARPA funds into lost revenue, converted them to general funds to be able to pay for this. And so that way, and it has been acknowledged by the U.S. Treasury Department. And next is we cut our capital outlay in this line item by 66.2%. So between a mile of the total budget between last year and this year on the general fund and general fund alone, we increased the budget by 3.6%. So as you can see in the revenue line items components and the expenditures, we balanced the budget based off the revenue streams, the cutting costs, maintaining, flatlining, working with these others, negotiating, talking to the legislators, other additional federal and state funding. So we were able to balance the budget at 3.6% increase with 3.6% revenue. Now, as special revenue, like I said, these are the county, state and federal programs. These are state and federal funded. For a total overall, I've got to say, the total budget for the county went up 2.7%. Now, we have new board members on here that have not heard some of this, and some of the ones that we do. Now, as far as our financials are concerned, there's 27 federal and state agencies that look at our financials, period. I've got from federal, state, U.S. Treasury Department, bonding agencies. I got 2 national banks, 3 regional banks that look at what we do. So, these numbers that we put in here,
And once we go through, they just don't get the first version. They continuously watch us on a monthly basis. We have a direct connect line movement transfers between the state treasurer and here, period. And the reason I mention that is because, as people have seen in the paper,
No disrespect to the schools, Tazewell County's having a hard time right now. There was movements and money and transfers. Let me assure you that we're very transparent. Not one person, not one agency, not one private agency, not one auditor
will walk through that door. They will not see what we say it is between us, the schools, the state, and the feds, period. So, and I hate to be so emotional, but it's enough's enough. Next is the Russell County Board of Supervisors. As we go through this is the resolution, the traditional part of all the language, the legal language, of what we got to do to be able to maintain and pass the fiscal year 24-25 budget, as the board has in their packet, with the numbers that are consolidated within the total general fund of $30,896,627. On this is the language that sets this in motion for FY 24 and 25. Now, I have said and went through the details and the facts. I'm not disputed any word anyhow, and I will in the future. Now, as far as the budget committee, us working with this through the chairman of the board, the vice chair of the board, Mr. Breedy, Mr. Eden, and the school board, as the budget committee, have y'all got any statement that y'all want to make yourself from this process?
I'd just like to make one comment. Dr. Hooker, thank you so much for the cuts and the adjustments that you made with a fanfare. But at any rate, we've been looking for a steady stream of revenue for probably eight years. We know that teachers are underpaid, and we've always tried to look forward to that. We just never have been able to pinpoint where it is. But this year we had some extra money. We were able to get that freed up, along with your cuts. I anticipated we were going to be able to do something for the teachers, but I never anticipated we were going to be able to do as much. I knew we were going to have to phase it in. But by doing your cuts and doing the adjustments that you made that first step substantial. And I think it was substantial. I give you all the credit for that. Hopefully next year we'll be able to get into another phase of that, another step, until we can get those salaries up where they need to be. So thank you very much. Thank your budget committee. They did a great job. David?
Well, same kudos, Dr. Hooker. I really appreciate it. This has been long-term situation that we've dealt with since we first got elected. When we first came into office, we had a huge deficit. And thank God we was able to pull out of the deficit, working with the school system to get ourselves into a better bond rating. And I'm so grateful for that the county is looking to take care of our employees. It's all about the people, to me. I mean, when you invest in your people, you get a good return on your investment. And I appreciate you, I appreciate the school board, the budget committee, for working with us on this. And with that, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this budget as written.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion to accept the budget as presented and a second. I'll open it up for discussion now.
I'd like to make a subsidiary motion that we approve the school board allocation on page 40 and continue discussion on the rest of the budget.
I don't think we can do that, Andrew. We had to approve the budget as a whole. And we can talk about your substitute motion. That's correct, okay.
If we're in discussion now, I do have a couple of things, Mr. Lester, that I'd like some clarity on for the public. So we've moved the Daint sewer project or expense out of the line items we had before and into an enterprise zone, and the canneries went there also.
Yes, ma'am.
Explain that to me.
Enterprise funds are accounting terminology that we use, you know, not just in the private or governmental sector. Enterprise funds are ones that generate funds. If, as you all know, that off the date project, we collect revenues, the PSA does, off of those operations from the sewer fees. Now, what you will see on there is the net. They generate revenue. So does the canneries. It's not much, but we do subsidize them. I mean, it ain't like we're making any money. Actually, we actually go into a deficit, but it's something that the Board of Supervisors actually wants to provide to county employees. For example, running both canneries in operations, make sure they're maintained and inspected from the boilers all the way up through. It runs us probably $100,000 a year, give or take. That's close as you're going to get. We make maybe 25. So it's something that the board has looked at y'all and said that y'all want to keep and maintain. And that's part of the process that we go through when we want to do the 55 departments. That cannery, those sewer, is projects that y'all have said to your board of supervisors that you want to keep and maintain. And that's the way I work. So that's the numbers that I drive at, and what's important to y'all is the way I drive the budget. So I hope that answered it.
Yes, sir, and also, Mr. Chair, if I may, the Daint sewer loan, the line for that was moved in that also. And so, do you have a timeline on the new sewer trunk line so that this debt is going to come off soon?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay. We're right now working with Cumberland Plateau Planning District, as Ms. Wallace has stated. We're getting ready to work with the PSA to go to contract. So this will be within the next couple of months. So we should be proceeding, you know, with this in the contract and the rest.
So how soon do you have a target date on when this trunk line is going to come into effect and this debt will be relieved and it'll come offline?
It will be.
Or is it coming offline?
Well, that's one of the things that we'll have to work with. As far as it will have to come offline, because you're going to be directly going into, yes, ma'am. It will be going directly into St. Paul.
Yes.
And that will be coming offline. Now, if we can find another alternative use for it, like treating our leche, or maybe having to figure out another way that we can do our leche through another process through, you know, the St. Paul plant, and we're going to have to figure that out. But what I'm trying to do is make sure that we've maintained that equipment, we've maintained that sewer treatment plant, and we treat our leche there right now. But once that goes offline, it's not going to become efficient. So we either going to look at either keeping it efficient or trying to treat the leche or sell it. So there's not going to be a setting asset there.
So the 49,572
We'll probably
is
pay
gone?
off. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The grant funds will pay that off.
The grant funds will pay that off.
That's what I was I wanted you to say that, but
Okay.
you never did.
I knew what you wanted.
Thank you,
Steve,
Mr. Brady.
We work in the water and sewer. I'm trying to make sure that it's like the schools, you know, even though we got 2 schools, we got to find a purpose for them and make sure these are taken care of. We cannot wait, and they're already working on it. If the school decides to turn them over to the Board of Supervisors, we've got to find an alternative for them fast. We cannot let these happen like at Cleveland and Oak Grove to be able to set and maintain. These have got to go operational. It's like a house. When you let it set, it's going to go down. And you can't, and once it goes down, you can't get rid of it. You end up maintaining it. So same way with the sewer treatment plant. I hate to use that analogy, but that's what we're looking at.
Yes, and we understand it had to be re-permitted and brought back up to speed until we could get to where we are today with the $3.6 million trunk line for the Daint to St. Paul sewer system.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
$3.6 million grant.
Grant, 100% grant.
Mr. Lester, if you could talk to us, you've explained your budget here today, and Ms. Tara Dye and myself met with you one day this week, and we spoke about surplus real estate. We spoke about a $0.015 tax decrease on our real estate. Can you talk to us about that property that the county owns and how we could do that cent-and-a-half decrease on our real estate property tax.
What Mr. Hensley and Ms. Dye had proposed, let me get up here so everybody can hear. What Mr. Hensley and Ms. Dye had proposed was, we have surplus property that's on our list, of course, you know, that's just like the schools will soon become surplus property. So we either keep them, maintain them, or we find an alternative use for them. We have a house that the county owns. It's not this board, it was boards before, well, boards way before it's boards. And they actually was coming through the Cumberland Plateau Planning District, and it was part of the Planning District Housing Initiative. And what they used to do, they used to build houses through the Planning District with grants, and then would turn them over to people with limited incomes and low housing. And this is one house that got caught into the loophole on both sides between the transition between the planning district to the county to the individual. It got caught into the county's name. It was not able to move the transfer through. And this was a lady and her mother that were disabled, both of them were, and the Board of Supervisors during their lifetime, now both of them's just passed away, both during their lifetime let them maintain that house, because one, it was all grant money at the time, so it was a housing grant, but now it remained in the Board of Supervisors' name as far as the deed. But when they passed away, then we don't need a house or surplus, so the treasurer is going to be putting it on for auction. You know, it's just like we do our other properties that we get through, people defaulting and not paying their taxes. It will go through the same process and same bidding process. Now, the second piece of property would be the large pieces of property that are allocated at the Oak Grove School. That's another school we're talking about. There's large tracts down there. That, of course, you got the community center that we was going to carve out to make sure everything was taken care of for the community center and as far as that. Now, since we have already printed our tax tickets and at the current tax rate, and we sent those tax tickets out, most of y'all have paid them, that we can't change this one cycle, and that's part of the conversations that we had. It's already been billed at the 63 on the 100 at the real estate. Now, what Mr. Hensley had proposed and Ms. Dye had proposed was lowering the 63 to 61.5 for the second half. Now, what that equates to is based off of our total gross property of $1.4 billion, down to the final low number of what we collect on tax levies, just on the second half, and it sounds like there's gonna be a lot, 1.4 billion, but it comes out at gross about $150,000. Now, these two pieces of property should sell or meet or exceed these two pieces of property, so that was the proposal. Did that leave anything else? Did there anything else?
So these properties would cover
The
any,
150,000 to 1.5, that, yes, the numbers would match, yes.
so the board could do that here today.
Yeah, well, yeah, the board would have to sets the tax rate. Just remember what I said, as far as the budget is concerned, attorney, jump in anytime. Now, we're horse trading. Now, as far as the first tax tickets, like I said, they're already being sent out. This is for the second half. What the impact?
That'll be December, correct?
That would be the December, yes, the fall, because you get billed on real estate twice a year, so the spring and the fall. So what it would equate to is about 150,000. I've got 22,425 partials in the county. That's the exact number.
What was that again? How many was that?
22,424, I think that's.
Lon,
Did I hit that number right?
isn't that 150, isn't that for the full year?
Yes,
That's
where I'm
the full
going.
year.
That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. So once we have, it's the 150, so what it comes down between each of the parcels is about $1.36. Or if I go into the ranges of houses, which we're doing the reassessment right now, and is average on the houses in Russell County, majority of them, 60%, range from $75,000 to $150,000. That's the normal range. And if you apply it at the 150 range and at the 75 range, and a half a year, because you can only move the 61.5, that is for the $150,000 house, that is $11, and for the $75,000 house, that's $570, $562, I think, off the top of my head. So those are the two averages for the 1.5% cut, because you can only apply it to the one half a year. Any other questions?
Is the treasurer here?
I don't know, she might be hiding. No, I'm teasing.
Ma'am,
That was quiet.
what,
We didn't even see you.
yeah, what kind of issues does this cause for you to do something like this?
Well, once the books have been run, they're already in our system, so both halves are there. What we would have to do, we would have to go back to like we did the personal property when we did the refunds. We would have to get Brights to go in and write a program to abate all those tax parcels for the second half. They would have to abate, I'm sorry, they would, I'm sorry. They would have to abate the, all those parcels. So what was in for the first half will have to be different for the second half. I probably had 10 to 15% of the public already pay their second half. So that's gonna issue, we're gonna have to go into refunds.
How much they say?
Probably 10 to 15% of people's already paid, so that's gonna go into a refund that we're gonna have to give to the second half people. Which, right now, we're still dealing with the personal property refunds. I worked on probably 300 people yesterday that checks were sent out to them. They didn't cash in 2022. We've sent them letters, they've not responded. So eventually, that money is gonna have to be turned over to the state.
Those were small
So,
amounts.
some of them 30 cents, some of them 50 cents, some of them $5. I mean, the most is probably $100 and some dollars. So that's how that would affect us. Somebody in Randy's office would either have to manually abate all those taxes on the second half, or we would have to contract through Brights to get them to write a program to rebate all those taxes on the second half, because they're already in the system.
Is that expensive to have?
What did we spend last time? I can't remember what the total was, I think, for the program. And then you're gonna deal with your refunds after that.
Instead of a refund, can it be a credit for the future?
Well, still, you're gonna have to deal with each one of them. So if you can put it out there on a prepay, and then you're gonna run into, of course, you're not gonna have many people that would, but you're gonna run into some people's gonna sell their property, so it's gonna be hanging out there as a prepay for somebody that paid it that no longer owns it. That's just, you're not gonna have a lot of that, but you can prepay it. But you're gonna have to deal with each one of those individually.
So when we met with you, you knew this?
No, this is
Okay.
part of the conversation. No.
Okay.
The book, the process, to come to the money for the 150, that's the part, selling the two pieces of property.
Yeah, I understand that, but I mean about the rebates and that sort of thing, because that could have saved us 2.5 hours. That's what I was looking at.
Well, we
You know,
talked about a lot.
I know we did, but you know, I get what she's saying, and I don't want to cut off our nose to spite her face. You know, but I just.
Do you have finances to do it if the property is sold? Yes. Now, with it, as any process in the government can say that, it's complicated because we have so many systems that's got to be done. Same way with the personal property. It took a process. That's when we mentioned in the meeting, just like on the personal property. When we ran your personal property, we didn't use the ADA or the Blue Book. We had to run it VIN number by VIN number. We have your VIN numbers. So we made sure that when we applied that tax, that was to that car that John owned himself based off that VIN number. And that's why you gotta do property to be able to legal. So I didn't think about it during the conversation about the process. I was trying to get to the numbers.
Well, what I'd like to also say is, being on the budget committee and working with the school budget committee, we did this on phases. Phase 1, is that correct, Dr. Hooker? Phase 2 and phase 3. You know, if we sell these properties, that would be going toward phase 2 or phase 3. This is going to be a long term. Once we initiate this is going to be long term for us to be able to be able to maintain, to keep up with everything that we're gonna do for our teachers. I've always said, I wanna be competitive. I wanna be competitive in our county, and the only way we're gonna be able to do this is to have the resources and the funding to be able to do it in phase two. We've not got to phase two yet from the budget committee standpoint, but we've still got a load of employees that we're gonna have to take care of. We've not addressed that. This is, we all broke this down as phase one, phase two, and phase three, and we've still got a lot of employees out there that we've committed to take care of, and you're gonna have to have the money to do that.
Well, again, you know, selling property is a one-time shot. It's not recurring income like we really need, you know. So, you know, next year we're gonna be down, you know, the year. But it seems kind of futile to do this when we know we've got the reassessment coming up next year. And I hate to tell you all, but, you know, the reassessment, we're coming up with numbers 40 to 70%. It's gonna be crazy, you know.
Our thought was that it would just be a little bit of help for right now.
Well,
You know, because it is gonna get rough. The economy is not likely gonna get any better. I mean, as
well,
we
you
can
know,
all see.
the ones that are gonna get the help are gonna be the major property owners, the ones that have all that. You know, for the average guy, he's gonna have $11, $12, you know. But what I worry about, Dickinson County did this. And it was the perception that they were trying to lower it, knowing that they're gonna increase it. I just wanna be up front and tell you, you know, it's gonna be crazy next tax season, you know. But there's certain things we have to do. We have to lower the tax rate to get it down to within 1%, no more than 1% of what it was this year. So when you see these the good news about it, your property's worth a whole lot more. Bad news is your taxes are gonna go up some too, but we're gonna try to get them down as far down as we can get them. But, you know, this seems like a lot of work, for not a great deal of money to.
Mr. Chair, if we're through with discussion, I'd like to say a few things, and then I'm gonna call for the vote.
I had one last question, Lou. It was about the casino money. So, you said that some of it had to be spent for legal counsel. What was that for?
The casino board has their own counsel, their own auditors, they have to do to comply with the
Gotcha.
gaming commission.
Okay.
So, as they went through, and as far as that, they have their own attorney, their own CPA, they have to.
So it was for
confirm-
that?
Yeah, and
Okay.
taxes that they had to pay on those gamings. So it was not a large amount, but it was enough to where it did reduce us by about 125 off projection.
That-
Per county.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
really
it's per
just
county, yeah.
per county. It was even across the board, yes, ma'am.
All right, Ms.
When
Wallace.
will we see the 2023 actual numbers
As far as the budget.
as proposed on this?
At 24. You mean 24, 20, this year, 24, 25? Yeah, we're looking.
If I look this budget and pull it up here, you've got, different titles, if I can get to it.
Are you talking about the audited numbers? What?
Up the top, it says fund, major, minor, revenue source, and then it says actual revenue, and it goes from 621, and then 622, and then 623. Now, I'm assuming 623 isn't actual, since those are round numbers, the majority of them. And I just wonder when will those audited numbers be available?
As far as the FY 23 budget audits, it's on the website. We, as a treasurer, we have also contacted the auditors. They're coming in, actually, they've already contacted us, and they're already starting to pull the numbers for the FY 24 that just ended. As much money that, let me put it in perspective to you, is between what we say are $30 million, or give or take, on general funds, plus the state, but when we throw in the schools and everything that comes through the treasurer's office and the rest, and the grants and funds, we're talking $110 million. So there's a lot of numbers to be done. So where I'm going with this, after the fiscal year closes on June 30th, we will go back and do our accruals and the movements and make sure all the accounts are accounted for. Because again, those 27 agencies that we look at, they hold our bond ratings, and the U.S. Treasurer, we got to come right down. I have seen the Treasurer spend hours on a penny. So that's how close these get. I mean, it's number giving. So what we got to do is we'll be working through those during the month of July and August, and we'll have the 23 and the 24 numbers because of the accruals and the adjustments, and those will be posted. So
What I'm looking at is in the center here. It's fiscal year 6/30/23. Those numbers, a lot of them are round numbers.
yes,
So we have a budgeted revenue is 630 and then the 23. So you're saying that we'll be able to see that sometime around August?
yeah, all of
Okay.
these will be updated. Yes, July and August, all of them, all the way through 24. We've already completed the 23 audit. Yes, yeah, we've already completed it. It's online. Yes, yeah, they should be.
So these numbers that are audited are perfectly round?
Again, my 27 agencies looked at these 20 audits and they're clean. I will make sure they're on the website. But anybody wants a copy, good, allow them to look at it. It's very interesting. Yeah. Well, we should know. It'll be online. So, anybody that wants a copy of it, but the point is back to this. What's before the board is the FY 24-25 budget and the tax rate. So, getting off track here. Sorry.
Ms. Wallace, go ahead.
First of all, I would like to say that I compliment the Budget Committee. I think you've worked on this. I'm very satisfied with what you've got. I do not want to change anything as far as what we've come up with in this budget packet. I think that is, I just don't think that's worth the time and effort and money to be spent to save a few dollars on a few checks. And so I just put that out there like that. I appreciate you all. So, Mr. Chair, with that, I'll call for the vote.
Okay. Maybe we'll do this as a show of hands. All in favor of
Mr.
the
Breeden, can I have just one comment real quick? I do have one comment.
last
before we go.
comment?
Keep an eye on, we need to keep an eye on all these things that we're potentially selling. So we have the house, lots at Oak Grove, Givens School, Swords Creek, Copper Creek. As we go through these properties, and there's many more, I'm sure, that the county owns, too often money disappears from government and ends up in different programs. So I'd just like to see us make sure we keep a really close eye, and the public can help keep us accountable to it on where all this money goes, because it can add up to hundreds of thousands of dollars, and if we're not making sure that we're appropriating it in proper ways, or at least possibly giving that money back to the people, because at the end of the day, it is the people's money. Making sure that we're doing what we need to do to be fiscally responsible with this money, because appears to be, it's going to be several $100,000 of revenue coming in, and from all these sales. So that's the only comment I have, is that we need to make sure we keep an eye on that, keep our thumb on it, that we are not just letting it drift into some program or something that's somebody's pet project. Thank you.
Any program that it goes into would be subject to board approval, and always has been. So, with that, I'm gonna call for the vote. All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? There are none. Show of hands. All in favor? And it's still unanimous. Okay, thank you. With that, I'm going to turn everything over to Mr. Eaton, who is the vice chairman, and I'm going to get in my truck and I'm going to drive to North Carolina and try to make my granddaughter's 7th birthday. So.
Have safe travels, Steve.
Safe
Tell
travels.
her, tell her happy birthday. Thank you, Dr. Hooker, and all the people that came. Have a great 4th of July. Okay, let's just kind of move on a little bit. All of us got a lot of 4th of July activities, and right now we'll go into public comment. Have Mr. Jim Little. Thank you, Jim.
Jim Little, 1660 Copper Ridge Road in Andrews District, District 1. Taking a little break from all the turmoil that you all have had on both sides of recent issues. It was a prime example, and I'm not knocking the teachers or anyone else here, but the mass exodus that we just saw. If we're going to be good citizens here in Russell County, then we need to be good citizens, not just over a MOS 3, our Second Amendment, or any of the others that I've seen major participation in. We need to be just as concerned about graveling a road up off Swords Creek somewhere, okay? They're both critical to us as a county, and if we're going to unify as a county, I believe we need to be greater participants here at meetings. I applaud then, not just though us as citizens, my other issue then, and I'll come on to the supervisors, if we're gonna expect more people to be involved, I appreciate the wall being torn out, first off, I really do, I think that's wonderful. But to put it in perspective, right now to come to a supervisors meeting, we only have seating for 147. Out of the last census that I pulled up this morning was 25,781, okay? That is 0.57%. That is just a tad over half of 1% that you all have capabilities to let us come to if we did. So if we as citizens are to improve our participation in county government, the county government needs to make provisions for us to be able to do so. You know, do I have the answer? No, I don't. So my dad is rolling over in the grave kicking my butt because he said you never present or complain about a problem if you don't have a prospective solution. But right now, we can only seat 0.5%. Now, I'm not saying we're gonna get 50%. It'd be nice to get 1%. But even at 1%, we only have half the capabilities to seat them here. So I want to, one, encourage residents of the county to participate more, and I'm guilty too. I went back and looked, I've probably been to 60–65% of the board meetings in the last 2 years. I'm ashamed of that, it should be higher. But then there's some that have probably never seen it. So I think we as county residents, instead of having pet projects that we are there for, and we come in, like I say, for the Second Amendment, which was a good project to support, good, all of this, you know, the Say No to MOS 3, the budget hearing, things of this nature are critical and higher profile, but we need to be here for the lower profile stuff. That's just my opinion, and opinions are like we know what, so we'll let that slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Next on the list is Tammy Garrett.
Good morning. How are you all?
Fine.
This morning, I just want to make a couple of points. The first thing that I want to mention is the ordinance against the landfill. I think now is an opportune time, while there's no ongoing negotiations, to strengthen the ordinance to ban all privately owned landfills. I think that there needs to be a board member who will step up and make that motion and take care of this issue once and for all, because we know that it's still hanging out there. So I would ask that that you all try to come to a consensus and strengthen that ordinance and get this off the table once and for all, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. The second thing that I want to address is Mr. Kilgore's representation of the board. I think that we have proof, such as emails, including the one of Terry's draft that was sent to him of the host agreement, that he has violated conflict of interest in representing the county. He represented Meridian Waste against Pulaski County, so we know where his interests and his loyalties lie, and it's not for Russell County citizens. It is for big trash business. So I think that that would be in the interest of the county to sever ties with him. Third, Lonzo Lester, I think the county needs to really look at renewing his contract. I want to make it clear that I think that our group, we all support the teachers, we support businesses, we support public education, but it's questionable how the county went from $2 million in debt when it was a dire prediction that the county was going down the tubes when we were trying to press on the landfill, and then the next month we were making money, and today we've got a balanced budget. I'm just wondering if we don't need a independent audit of the county budget. The next thing I want to address is the bylaws. There's been meetings in the past where several board members have said that they are working on a way that the board members can verbally interact and answer questions with the public. That has been brought up several times. It's never happened. No board member has made a motion, which I think they could do, that you all can interact with us and answer our questions. I notice in some meetings that when you want to interact with us and you want to make a statement, that you do that if you choose to do it. But if you don't want to do it, you don't do it. And I don't think that that's fair, and I don't think that that probably follows the bylaws of the board. I am going to say that Rebecca and Tara stated that no one asked them questions directly, and so I am asking directly. I'm not just asking Tara and Rebecca, I'm asking all board members to answer me and let me know when they are going to definitively end the landfill issue. I want to know when that motion is going to be made and when we will have an answer that this is ended and the ordinance is strong enough to prevent these private owners from putting this landfill in the county. The last thing I want to say is, again, like I said at the last meeting, we are not going away. We are not going to stop fighting on this issue and other issues. We have a lot of other issues that we want to address. Our coalition is growing stronger. We're focused on positive change in the county, and we are going to make that happen. We want to work with you all. We have strong and intelligent members, and we want to support you, but there are things that we are going to fight against. We're going to continue to fight against it, and we're not going to give up. So, that's just how it is. But we do want to work with you, and we are fighting for positive change for the county.
Thank you, Ms. Garrett.
I'm gonna move this back a little bit. This way we're gonna get somebody tripped.
The next on the list is Josh Burgess.
Josh Burgess, 1857, Southwest Virginia.
And I want to thank y'all all again for your vote on the host agreement, voting that down. It means everything to everybody. I don't know if y'all hear that or not or enough, but it made a big impact on me, on my decisions in Russell County, whether I want to stay here or leave. And I went from looking for property in Scott County to wanting to build a house in Russell County. That's how much difference it makes. And future investments in Russell County. And here in the recent past, we've made a huge investment in Russell County. Y'all may know about it, you may not, but it means a lot. And if you're going to introduce something into the county that's going to affect people's health, livelihood, it needs to be announced over a loudspeaker. So any business venture the county might want to go on, get into dealings with people that you can't trust from the beginning, please don't do it. Please. We're here for you, and hopefully the landfill group is strong and it's positive. It is. But we're here with you, we'll help you, and I thank every one of you for your vote.
Thank you, Josh. Okay, Amy?
Good morning. Another Saturday together. So I want to thank you all for voting no. I apologize if you weren't properly thanked last time. I think I was caught off guard by the decision because we've been fighting for a lot of months, and it just felt like that it would never come to an end. And so it did, and it was a great deal of relief. But I will say that my comparison for the board and other local government officials is that you are like a cheating husband. I was happily spending my time and energy taking care of my house, the kids, and working, and you were doing secret things behind closed doors. And like Mr. Little said, I'm ashamed of myself for not being more involved earlier, but I'm here now and I'm willing to help. So now that we've all come back around to realizing that the landfill wasn't a godsend and that we've decided to stay together for the children, I'm going to spend a lot of time wondering where you are and what you're doing. And I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that I'll be watching you and that quite a few of you have some trust to rebuild. And this starts with transparency. And I had some problems with the budget. When we talked about the casino, we talked about we weren't going to get as much, but it's just not as much as we thought. It's still more than was budgeted last time. And then I would still like a list of all the for sale properties, because Elk Garden School was sold for $50,000 and not at a public auction. So I don't think that that's fair or right to the people. I also want a list of those agencies that regulate us financially, because it was not in the packet online, but it was here. And the financial statement that Mr. Alonzo Lester said was online is not. 2023 is not online. So those do look like proposed numbers and not actual numbers. So the transparency has to be both ways. We need to be transparent. And I know you think this is funny, but I'm trying to be professional and I want to help you. So, you know, we're here to try to work with each other for the best of the county. So you can snicker at me all you want, but it's not appropriate. So I've yet to understand why, after multiple FOIAs, I haven't come across an original letter of intent from the landfill developer. Yet we proceeded to spend thousands of dollars, at least up to $100,000 between legal fees and protester reports, on a project that none of us needed or wanted, and it wasn't in our best interest. And I hope that the FOIA information that I've requested from Mr. Lester that he's been given an extension on will have that in there. Also, in an email to Ms. Brandy Hurley, Mr. Lester stated that the county would be reimbursed for those expenses. And he didn't say if we signed the host agreement. So where's our money? That's $100,000. That would have helped you support the tax cut. Like, where's our money? It did not say if. And then we have a document here that I'm going to hand to Tara because I know she will secure it and give it to everybody else. It was a project description about the landfill, and it said in there, the landfill will reimburse the county for all pre-development expenses. So I'm going to give that to you. So I just want to say that we want to try to work together, and you've seen all the work we've done. And at some point somebody told me that I didn't know who I was messing with, and I was messing with powerful people. Well, I just want to say that we are powerful people. We are not the last call girl at the bar. We don't have to settle for crap, projects. We can do better, and I want to help. I want to
Amy,
know.
your time's up, honey.
Awesome. We'd like to help.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, bear with me just a second. Let me scroll back up here. At this time, anything from board? Andrew, you got anything you want to say?
I'd just like to mention that I come in here today wanting to get everybody a tax cut. I didn't realize all the ins and outs of doing that. I'd like to challenge the board that if we're gonna sell this real estate, that we think of the man that worked it out. If somebody got up and put on a pair of work boots and went to work in an old dog hole mines, or cutting tobacco, or out on his farm, and he paid for that. And we need to think of that man as we go forward as to how we allocate that money. Next thing is we set a tax rate in April, if my memory serves me and Mr. Lester can correct me, before we ever had a budget meeting. I voted against that. I would like to challenge the board that if we're going to set our tax rates, that we do it in a budget meeting where we can have a discussion just like we've had here today. And I promise the public, I'll work from today until next year to get you a tax cut. We're going to go through a reassessment, but I'd like to have that reassessment done. And when we get done, at the end of the day, you can say, I'm paying less taxes today than I was last year. Thank you.
Nate? Yeah, I'll give you that opportunity, sir. Before I go, yeah, go ahead real quick. Yeah. No, you're fine. I'm sorry about that. I didn't, if you got here late, I understand how that is. You go ahead.
Well, I was hoping my neighbor chased some cows, and they outnumber us 2-1, so hard work.
We got an agriculture proclamation we just passed, so thank you.
Anyway, I just wanted to take a little intermission from complaining about the landfill, and I thought that the budget presentation was a great opportunity to talk about something else. And I've brought this up to several of you individually, but there are 52 Sundays in a year. That's about 14% of the year. And during that 14%, we actively repel revenue and hamstring our small businesses with an absolute ban on alcohol sales. And that's Sunday in the Bible Belt, and the church crowd's out on Sundays in the Bible Belt, so that's quite a bit of revenue. It costs us direct revenue and taxes levied on the alcohol itself, and it also costs us indirect revenue and meals that would accompany that alcohol and general shopping people might do, and we're forcing these people to drive out of the county to do it. It also handicaps every grocery store, bar, and restaurant in the county with no benefit. We don't get anything from that. So my suggestion is to remove the Sunday alcohol ban and levy a 5% tax on alcohol sales on Sundays in its place. Just to spitball some numbers on that, let's assume that businesses across this county sell $10,000 in alcohol on the average Sunday. 5% of that is $500. 52 years, or 52 Sundays in a year, is $26,000 in revenue from alcohol sales alone. And that's, for a county budget, that's not a ton of money, but it doesn't hurt either. Especially when you consider that that doesn't include the meals and the shopping that would accompany them, that would also generate revenue. And I'm certain our small businesses would also enjoy the opportunity to be able to compete with neighboring counties. I know of at least 2 businesses in Castlewood that are hurt quite badly by it, because anybody that wants a beer is just going to drive to St. Paul and get one instead. And Russell County is kind of just a big rectangle, so there's nowhere in the county that you can't drive 15 minutes and be somewhere else. I'm asking there's also something to be said about the optics of having a prohibition-esque law on the books for potential residents moving in and businesses moving in even. So I'm asking you to let our businesses compete, give yourselves free revenue, and let me get a beer on Sunday after I run. Thank you.
Thank you. JJ.
I just wanted to come up here and thank the board for passing the budget and just how grateful the teachers are. They really are. They may not get up here and speak and say a whole lot, but they are grateful for this raise. It does get us competitive with other counties. It doesn't catch us up to where our goal is, and like we said before, we do have a 3-step process, and we're just on phase 1. Also, Andrew, your heart is in the right place, and I commend you on that, and I hope you continue to work on them tax cuts because all the county's citizens can benefit from that. And just keep working hard for the citizens, keep doing the right thing, and thank you guys so much for all the work you've done. Appreciate it.
Thank you, JJ. I first want to apologize. I didn't mean to leave anybody out or anything like that. I apologize for that, but I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to address this board. Nate, do you have anybody else? Yes, ma'am, you sure can. Come on up. I'm sorry.
Thank you. That's appreciated.
I'm Betty Dickinson from Castlewood, and I do thank y'all for stopping what was going on with that landfill. That was a great relief, and I hope that you will permanently stop it. What I wanted to say, though, today is last Saturday, I ran over to Cleveland to their farmers market. It was fantastic. And the thing that struck me, even though it was in the 90s and everybody was melting, you're right there on the river. All you had to do was walk up on that swinging bridge and there's a cool breeze. There were people down here with their little kids splashing around along the river's edge. It was just delightful, and I thought, we've got something really special over there that we have completely ignored, and we really need to give some thought and some help to that area because it really was. It was very pleasant. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Well, I will tell you this, there's a lot going on in our area, in our county. God's blessed us. They got a rodeo going over right now, and I reckon last night they had a big crowd, and it's going on tonight. I know a lot of things interfere because we got 4th of July celebrations, but support our things that's going on in our county and support each other. Farmers markets to whatever our local communities have, we need to get behind them, but anybody else? Before I miss it. Okay, Nate.
First of all, I want to recognize Mr. J.J. Eaton, who sits on the school board, for those of you who don't know. I have advocated with the school board for years for the teachers' salary raises because my mom was a teacher, my wife was a teacher, my sister's a teacher. Teachers run deep in my family, and my wife's mother was a teacher at Lebanon High School for years. It's way overdue. I mean, we're talking like decades overdue. And it's always been said, well, just give us more money is the answer. Just give us more money, give us more money. And really no one on the school board wanted to address the issue of cutting where they needed to cut to make sure that they could do what they do. Because the truth is, folks, we're actually funding the school system at as or better rates than over half the counties around us. So it's not a revenue issue. It's not a money issue. It's just nobody on the school board want to take responsibility. And I want to commend Mr. Eaton. He pushed, and he was on the budget committee. He worked with our budget committee. They did an excellent job coming together. They made cuts. We made sacrifices. And it happened, and I couldn't be more happy to say that now in Russell County we have a competitive wage for our teachers and moving forward, we're gonna continue to work on that. Additionally, we do need to really buckle down and work hard, and I do appreciate the work of the budget committee, because I know it's no easy task when you're looking at a whole county's budget and trying to figure out, how you're gonna pay all the bills and how everything's gonna work out. And it's a moving target all the time, because one month is more this and the other month's more that, and it's always kind of flowing in and out. So you gotta be careful with it. But we do have some opportunities, I do believe, and I said that before I got elected, and I still believe there's still opportunities that we can do better. And the really great news is, I think Lonzo mentioned it, or someone did, about some of the businesses that we've got coming in, and developments that are going on that are really going to help our county with revenue. And what I'd like to see, just like Andrew was saying, is as we get more businesses, the way that you do a tax cut for the individual, for the homeowner and the working man, is you have to be able to offset that revenue some way. So if we can continue to grow our businesses and grow jobs in Russell County and get people to move to Russell County, and one of the things great about Russell County, everybody knows this, that lives here, is we got low taxes. So it's a really attractive when someone looks at Russell County and says, hey, am I going to live in Russell County or am I going to live in Washington County? The tax revenue issue is big, and when it comes to that, if we're going to keep low taxes and we're going to try to get lower taxes, then we have to be able to grow our businesses and jobs in Russell County. So, continue to be, praying for us and praying for our county, and looking for opportunities to help us and to help the county grow, because it's really important. Because I want to be able to deliver on that. I want us to be able to cut that tax rate. I know we're going to have to next year, just because of the assessment. It's going to be, y'all don't panic. Like at Tazewell County, I think a lot of people panicked when they first saw it. Now they didn't lower their rate, but that's not going to happen in Russell County. I won't vote for that. We're going to lower our rate. We're going to try to get things back in line where you're not hit with a big old tax bill. Good Lord willing, we don't have anything major come up in Russell County that causes us any heartburn. But y'all just, when you see that assessment, don't freak out. All right, we're going to work on getting that tax rate down so that you're not hurt so bad. So appreciate y'all coming out. Like Mr. Little said, participate, be here. If we get a full room, then we'll look at ways to expand it, and then we'll go maybe just have to start having meetings all the time down in the other end. But if y'all can fill these rooms, we'll definitely make more room. We'll have to. So we're glad to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kaiser. Tara.
Nancy, you were right. Cleveland Farmers Market was awesome. It really was. It was hot. I thought Jared was going to melt down. He went and jumped in the river, literally. But we had a great crowd. We had great vendors. Beautiful day, beautiful area. And if you've not been down there, I encourage you to come. The bridge is beautiful. The park is beautiful. We've got Tank Hollow Falls. Go play in the river. It's great. I wanted to talk about the potential tax cut that we were going to try to do. Andrew and I, we really, we care about our citizens. That's the whole reason we've done this. We understand what it is. I may not put on work boots every day like Andrew does, but I do get out and I work. I do get my hands dirty, that sort of thing. But I really do care about people. I see how people struggle. And Alicia and I, we've even talked about, the treasurer, about people coming in and they can't pay their taxes. They have to be put on plans and stuff. And that's just horrible. Absolutely horrible. And not everybody that has a huge amount of land around here is rich, and $12 or whatever Steve was saying, that adds up. Some people, $12 is, it's more than what it would be to others. But I think about my land that I live on. That was given to me by my papa, who died of black lung, and it's in the district that landfill almost came to, So that would have devalued that, whatever. But anyway, I won't get off on that, but you know, he worked really hard to have that. And a lot of people in this area have worked really hard to have what they have. And to be taxed to death on it, we can't let that happen. So we do need to work on that for sure. But as Mr. Lester was saying, as Andrew and Nate have pointed out, we do have businesses coming here that can help us offset some of our taxes. We have really, really good businesses coming. But I also want to focus on something about expanding our small and medium business here. We don't need to worry about just, you know, like AT&T, for instance. They have no ties here. They don't care about Russell County. They don't care about you. They come here, they use our workforce, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, they're just trying to do their business too, but they're not invested. So it's easy for them to pack up and leave. I would like to see us focus on businesses like Simmons, who are regional. You know, they're out of Tazewell. They're just normal people like all of us, but they want to expand here in Russell County and make Russell County part of their home. They are invested to where they're not just going to pack up and leave. We have small and medium businesses here right in our county, but also in our region, that I would love to invite to Russell County to, you know, foster them be good to us, we be good to them. So, but anyway, that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Tara. Miss Rebecca? Miss Wallace?
Oh, I always do, of course. Thank you for the opportunity, and I do appreciate a Saturday morning crowd. It's a little different than cartoons at my house. So, to approach Mr. Ring's comments about the sale of alcohol, I will say that for those of you who were listening a couple of years ago when Ms. Patton was their attorney, we did attempt to get them on a referendum, and the signatures, the attorney that they had representing them that came and spoke did not want to do it that way. And Ms. Patton suggested that would be the quickest way to get the alcohol sales for El Palenque in Castlewood. And so that did not happen. So just so you know, we said, and we looked at an attorney to do that. So I don't know how this has to happen, but I'm with you on that. I'm not a Sunday drinker or a Monday drinker, but the question is here, where is that revenue going? And that's just like smoking cigarettes and eating food. It is a tax that we could use. So anyway, I'll look over here to my Virginia delegate and attorney that might be able to help us with this. Turn your mic on, Mr. Kilgore.
Am I on? I think, Luann, that the General Assembly passed a law that now you have to opt out. The county would have to opt out. So I think the board can go back and address this issue because it's been addressed in other counties that would drive across the state. It's an opt out instead of opt in now. But that was a couple years ago. We did that. So.
Okay, now you heard it here first.
Yeah, so I will get to Mr. Lester the particular legislation and send it to him, and that way, I mean, when you started talking about it, I didn't know that still was a issue. Oh, I didn't. Well, nowhere else in Southwest Virginia is like that. So, okay.
Thank you,
That's
thank
why I
you,
was
thank
surprised.
you, Mr. Kilgore. And I apologize to my mama if she's listening because this is not her thing, but anyway, we will, no alcohol, mama, thank you.
Mr. Lester, do you have anything?
Yes, sir. As far as let's talk about and Alice will tell you, I think we have a ordinance on the books that actually has no Sunday sales. So I think it was 1948, something like that, or it's still in existence. So it's a valid one, even though it's still in. So that would be something the board you would have to.
It's probably.
You have to repeal it or take it dead and all.
It probably violates state law, but I'll have to get.
We'll take a look at that. Oops. Okay. Second thing is of course, as we went through the budget and we've talked about all these issues and you know, the landfill did come up. Now, as the FOIA officer for the Russell County, and also this being an economic development project, one of the things that under the regulations that we do as an economic development project, either when you're going through the negotiations of a contract, or if you're going through the contract negotiations stop, or the contract is awarded, or the contract is completed, as the FOIA Freedom of Information Officer of the county, then from this point forward, what we are doing is, as of Tuesday, what we are doing, because during this process, I know it got very emotional. There was a lot of heat, a lot of discussions, a lot of statements, a lot of misstatements. So what we are going to do is this. I have also talked with the Commonwealth Attorney and the Attorney General's office. So what we have got and what we've got in place and what we're releasing is first to the Russell County Commonwealth Attorney, the Attorney General's office, the Freedom of Information Council, and the Virginia Economic Development Partnership to ensure what we did during this process was completely either private or public within the law. And it was within the process and regulations. So it's very transparent. It is. There's no more speculation. There's no more ifs, no more opinions. This is what happened, and this is backed up by the source documents, the contracts, the attorneys, the attorney notes. Everything on this project from the day one, the first email that occurred, to the last email that's put in place, will follow what we put out on the March 8th, 2024 committee of that project history. That was when it was first introduced, and our documents will show it. So therefore, as the FOIA officer, I have to notify the board of the release. The second thing is, as the FOIA officer, due to issues, private issues of my own, as the FOIA officer, I will be transferring those duties. I've done this for 30 years. I will be transferring it to the county attorney position, either the county administrator or the county attorney. Alice knows this. Either will perform these duties due to a private lawsuit. So I cannot, it would be in a conflict of interest if I proceed as the FOIA officer in control and a private lawsuit. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kilgore, do you have anything, sir?
No.
Well, I would just like to thank everybody for coming out. I will tell you this, it's not an easy job being up here, but we have a lot of good people with a lot of good heart and wants to see the right thing for our citizens. And we don't know what the future holds, but I want to thank everybody for coming out, and I want to adjourn this meeting effective immediately. Thank you.